I'm from Well Grounded, and I'm being supported on the technical side by Guillaume. Um, I believe that everyone is okay sound-wise, hopefully. As I said, Guillaume will be controlling microphones, so normally there shouldn't be any interference. And you're very welcome to keep your webcam on to make it a more, I think, connected and personable experience. We will, however, be recording the session. So if you would rather not be uh, shown on the video, then feel free to turn your camera off. And also feel free to change your name if you'd rather remain anonymous. So it's an hour-long session. It should end at 5 o'clock UK time. And there will be a presentation and then there will be sections for Q&A. So there will be moments during the presentation where you will be able to either share your experiences or ask any questions to either Sharon or Helen. You won't necessarily need to wait until the end to be able to do so. So let me just quickly introduce Helen and Sharon and then pass it over to them. So Helen is a skilled fundraiser with over 10 years of experience in fundraising and managing programs for various organizations. She currently works, as I mentioned before, at the Kenya Community Development Foundation as a corporate fundraising officer and is a training of trainers for local resource mobilization. Sharon is a skilled local fundraising and mobilizing support trainer and coach. She currently works also at the Kenya Community Development Foundation as a senior programs officer, e-learning coach, and mentor, and serves as a resource person for the Change the Game Academy program. So let me hand it over to Helen and Sharon, and you can speak a bit more about yourselves as well as the Kenya Community Development Foundation.
So Sharon, may I go first? As you've been told, my name is Helen Kitonga. I work for Kenya Community Development Foundation in Kenya. I work as a fundraising officer, and I'm also a trainer for local resource mobilization. And I also coach community groups on how to develop on local resource mobilization and how to be on the driver's seat for their own development. KCDF, in short, that is short, Kenya Community Development Foundation, has been in existence for the last 23 years. And it was started by Kenyans who had interest of building local, supporting communities in our own way. Kenya Community Development Foundation focuses on building communities, empowering communities, and making sure that they have they realize the development which they want, or projects which they want to do in their communities. I don't know if Sharon, you're there, you can take it up.
Helen, I'm here. Thank you very much. So just
I think we might be having some connection issues.
Helen has said KCDF fortune, and our focus is on issue. Pardon, can you hear me? Am I clear enough?
We can hear you now. Yes, we lost you in the beginning.
Okay, please just alert me when my internet fluctuates. I think there's a challenge on this side. Thank you.
Sorry, Sharon, I think we're struggling to hear you again. Let me check with
focuses
Sharon.
on ensuring that communities flourish and are giving, and also through capacity building. And the end of the development agenda, they need to own the idea. Sorry, am I clear? You're losing me.
Sorry, Sharon, we really didn't capture much of what you said. Would you be able to start over and speak maybe a bit more slowly?
Am I clear now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Continue now.
So let's try now. I hope I hope the internet will be stable. Sorry for that.
No problem. Oh. I think we've lost Sharon again. Let me see if she can connect
So
to a
I was saying
different
that Kenya
network.
Community Development Foundation focuses on empowering communities to take initiative of the development agenda. That's on to their own. The other thing that we focus on is making sure that communities are contributing in that process, either by giving resources in kind, in cash, and in terms of time. And then also making sure that they are involved in the process of addressing the development need. So in a nutshell, KCDF empowers communities to take charge of the development agenda. And over the years, we have seen communities that have relied on external partners or parties coming in to solve their development needs. And with time, we are realizing that disempowers the community and makes the community weaker and does not on to the process of addressing their needs. Therefore, KCDF has come up with interventions that helps to address that. That is through the matching grant. We also have the capacity building program that focuses on resource mobilization and also making sure that decision makers are held accountable. We also focus on empowering organizations by the organizations checking their systems and making sure that they address the gaps within the institution that makes them vulnerable to external parties that come in to try and address their needs. So in a nutshell, that is KCDF, and we are going to be sharing a bit more as we go through the part to in your sharing from our side what we are doing with our communities and how best we can work together to ensure that every community we work with is stronger and is owning up to that process of addressing the development needs. To start us off, I would like to ask a few questions which will be shared in a poll. So Emma, if you could help us by sharing the poll so that the participants could share with us what their views are. Thank you.
Sharon, this is Mireille. I'm just sending something because Emma doesn't see you don't see my message, Emma. But I think Corinne, the translator, is struggling hearing you. Maybe you can speak a little bit slowly so that she can get all of what you are saying. She's struggling and making signs, but I think nobody is looking at her.
Okay, sorry. That's okay.
On pense à elle. Pour les Français, si la traduction est très difficile, c'est parce que la connexion de Sharon est difficile. Donc, Corinne la traductrice a vraiment un travail très, très difficile. Mais on se bat et on va faire du mieux qu'on peut chacun. Thank you.
So there is a question on the screen around where your resources come from. And we always ask the different communities that we work with, who fills your pot? Because sometimes the pot might be full, but is it filled with people that can...
Please, Corinne, can you translate the poll?
That can sustain that pot to submit your response to the question that is on the screen. The first one is...
I'm sorry, Sharon. I think we are struggling a bit with your connection. We can't hear you very well.
The first question is, how are your organization's resources distributed?
Sharon, can you hear us? Helen, I'm just wondering if maybe you could take the lead because we're really having a hard time hearing Sharon, and I think your connection might be a bit more stable. Is that possible?
All right, it's quite
that
okay.
You feel represents your organization, and then you can submit.
I think you can go ahead, Sharon.
Maybe
I go ahead,
Emma, let Sharon know that Ellen is taking over.
Yes, I have.
All right. So as Sharon has said, it is important to know where your sources of funds are coming from. So it is like a pot. So in that pot, ask yourself, who is putting funds in that pot? Is it international? Are you relying on international donors? What percentage it is? And or local donors, what percentage it is? So we have put the questions on the screen. Kindly keep on answering them, and we will discuss them on a later. So for now, we are going to the next slide. Next.
Aylan, you want the slide?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. It's okay?
Yeah, so next, I think we've talked about who KCDF is. So we can go to the next. We've talked about our vision, our mission. You can go to next. This is where we were. We were asking you who fills your organization's pot. So it's very, very important to be diverse on who is filling your pot. And it's a high time you started looking at how to make local corporates, individuals to come on board and start filling your pot. And as well as you're getting funding from international funding, but we are seeing a trend where international funding is slowly diminishing. So that's why we want to, KCDF is very keen on increasing our local resource mobilization and making fellow Kenyans realize that we can do it when we come together and when we give just what we have towards a given cause. Next. Yeah, so.
I missed one.
Yeah. So we missed one. Yeah, we missed one. So funding status in communities, Kenyan case. So when we look at funding, how funding is done in Kenya, we have seen that it's like we are getting there's so much funding which is coming from abroad for our CBOs, for our CSOs, such that in case those international donors pulled out, you will just end up closing and and going home. So we are trying to do a mind shift. We are really very keen on doing mind shift so that we can, in case of such a thing, we can be able to remain, our offices can remain open, our work can continue, even if it's not in a big way, but at least we can be sustainable. So it's very important to work very hard to increase our local resource mobilization. So we are also looking at 60% of community organizations. How are we getting this? For example, how are we raising funds? We are raising funds through talking to corporates as they want to do their CSRs. How are they doing their CSRs? Can they channel their CSRs through you? Is there a corporate near you which you can approach and tell them this is what the community needs? Are you able to explain to them so that they partner with you and they work with you and they become a long-term partner with you to do community development in that area? There are individuals who you are going to approach, explain what you are doing for the community, make them understand what you are trying to do and support the community in a big way, and also give you networks out there. Yeah, so that in case of anything, for example, right now we're having COVID-19. Every country is fighting for its own people. So what happens in case our donors just concentrate with their, our international donors just concentrate with their countries? What will happen to us? We have to have a mind shift such that we are able to see how we can address our own problems in our society and do something for each other together, and stop thinking that it is only international donors who can give us funds to do community projects. For example, the community sometimes does not understand that if they from whatever project they want to do, they can give in kind. For example, they can, if it's a school they want to do, they can give bricks, you know, they can contribute the little money they have. They can sell their cows, they can sell their goats so that they can meet the budget which is needed. They can also talk to the local government so that the local government is able to support them. Once the local government sees that the community has come together, definitely they will also want to be part of that project. So what are we doing to make sure that we stop just having that mindset of, you know, relying on international funding? That is mostly what KCDF is trying very hard to grow. And we have seen that over the years, we started small and every year we are growing. Every year we are growing. I can say that like last year, local resource mobilization for KCDF went to 210,000 USD. And this year we are even doing much, much better. So we grow every year. We grow every year with our local resource mobilization in the foundation. And we are growing. When you look at the total budget of the foundation, every year the percentage for local income keeps on going up. So we're looking at on a trend of 10 years. How will it be? Will it be a 50-50? When you are there, we are in a much better position to do much more than just what we would have done if we relied only on international funding. And also, what are we doing to our people? Our people, we are taking the power to ourselves. We are able to do projects the way we want, not the way we are being directed. We ask the communities, what project do you want us to do? And they give us the proposals of the projects which they want to do, and we are able to do. But unlike when an international donor will come and say, this is the project we want you to do, which might not be the real need of the community. So we partner with the community and we make sure that they are part of what we are doing so that they can own the project, so that they can, you know, they really have the ownership of the project, and, you know, they feel they are part of it and we solve their problem, unlike just bringing a project to them, which maybe they didn't want. Yeah, next. Yeah, so effects. Does it allow to develop a long-term effect of funding, the funding which we are currently doing? It does not allow to develop long-term interventions. For example, if you are being given international funding, yeah, it is not like when you have a corporate which sponsors several children through your organization, which you are in touch with throughout. So when you work with local donors, there can be long-term. But if it is international, they just give you a project for like 2-3 years, and once it's over, then what? Yeah. Then again, we say fundraising becomes a constant. It becomes very strenuous to just do international fundraising, so, versus doing local fundraising. Once you go to a local, to the community or to our corporates, and you sell your projects to them, you sell what the projects you've gotten from the communities to them. These are communities they know so well. They know, for example, they know that in Maasai land, there are not many schools. Children are suffering. If you tell them, you show them the way to do it, and you support them, they will be able to work with you to do that school. Unlike an international donor who might just impose a project to you, which you might not want, and also or you try to sell the idea to them and they don't really understand you. So when you work with the local community, it is easy for them to understand, though they might not give you a big chunk of money, but when you do, as they continue getting trust in you, we have seen that corporates can give, individuals can give, and the community also gets to realize that the extra they have, they can also put together and do something for themselves instead of just relying on external, international funding. Also, we've seen that there are so many CSOs, there are many CSOs. So all of us are, sort of fighting, or, we are all fighting for small funding from one international donor. So you'll find one international donor is getting so many requests or proposals, such that at some point they don't know who to give, who to leave out. So what can we do? We have to bring power to our own hands to be able to talk to our own communities. And here in Kenya, we do something called harambes. Harambes is give what you have, give 5 shillings, give 1,000. Let's put it together. Let's start a school or a nursery school for our community, or if it's a dispensary, we come together. And once the government sees that the community is pushing for something, they are then able to bring in a doctor, they're able to bring in a nurse, they're able to bring in a teacher. Unless now the communities show the government that they are in need, sometimes the government does not really, just leaves them there. So it is very important, as much as we are writing proposals internationally, it's also important to build our own, to educate our people that we have some power, and also teach them how to do local resource mobilization, and just so that they can be empowered and know that they can do something for their own. Yeah, also, sometimes there is over-dependence. Sometimes we over-depend on these donors, and sometimes it's not so good. So they are the ones who are giving us the solutions to our own problems, which is not very good. So we need to empower ourselves and have the, be able to raise resources locally, especially when we have surplus. If we, for example, a community grows maize and they have surplus, they can give the surplus, put the surplus together and sell and be able to raise funds. There is a group in Kenya which does potatoes, yeah, and they realize that when it is high season, their potatoes go to waste because there is no market for their potatoes. So they decided to do a potato cooler. So they came together and bought the materials which are needed just by giving little by little. At the end of the day, they were able to do many potato coolers for their farmers, such that during the high season, they can keep their potatoes safe, so that when the high season fades out, they're able to get out their potatoes and they sell at a good price instead of selling at a throwaway price. Yeah, so we can go to the next. Yeah, so what do we mean by domestic resource mobilization? Yeah, so domestic resource mobilization, for me, it means looking for what we can do, bring together to be able to achieve a project or to empower ourselves. for example, here in Kenya, there is, like revolving funds, women coming, table banking, women just putting little money, like 20 shillings every week, and it's a group of like 200 women. So every week, each woman is giving 20 shillings. So at the end of the day, if they wanted to do something for themselves as a group, they're able to do that. Again, if they're able, for example, if they wanted to start just a revolving fund where a woman can be able to borrow some money and return, that can be done. And also they get to, if they want to do something like a borehole in the community, they put money, just little money here and there, and they're able to start the project. And then from there, now they continue asking for example, in KCDF, we have a project called Pamoja for Change, where if it is such a borehole, the women write to us and we tell them, now this is the project, it is costing, for example, 1.4 million. Then we tell them, you raise half the amount and we will match. So every shilling, it's called a shilling for a shilling. If they give the project a shilling, we match it. Just to make sure that they own the project, we make sure that they are, they are driving their own development, such that even when we leave the project, they feel that they own it and they will take care of that project, instead of leaving it in case something goes wrong with it. They will be able to, repair it. They will be able to continue with the project. So that is an easy way for even KCDF to live, because they have made sure that the community owns the project and will take care of the project because they put their resources there. Okay, so that is what we tend to look at, domestic resource mobilization, and it can be done in many ways. It can be done at that level of the community. It can be done even with corporates. For example, here in Kenya, KCDF is very keen to make sure that corporates are using KCDF to reach the community. As much as corporates want to reach the community, they don't know how to. So as we tell them that we specialize with community development, as they do their if it's a bank, they are doing their banking. If it is an oil company, they are doing their thing. So as our thing is community development, so they use us. We give them the proposals. They use us to reach the community. And if it is a CSR which they want, we are able to give them what they want. But at the end of the day, they have come together with we merge them with the community. They do the project together. KCDF driving the whole thing to make sure that the funds are collected from the community, and also funds are collected from the corporate, and the project is done the right way and it's done on time, making sure that all the funds which were raised are accounted for. Yeah, making sure that the corporate is very happy with the work and the results which we are doing, so that we can be able to sell to them another project for another community and continue partnering that way. So KCDF is trying very hard to be the go-to for corporates to reach communities. Yeah, go to the next. Yeah, so why is domestic resource mobilization important? Why is it important to raise funds locally? There is relevance, It is quite, it's relevant for the community. When the community raises funds, they want to really understand why they are raising funds. So when you involve the community, we do a lot of training for communities when they have projects. We don't want to do projects like 100% for our community, because they will not own it, because they will not even understand the project. But once it is relevant to them, where they need a school nearby for their children. For example, if children are trekking like 10 kilometers to go to a nursery school, you know, and the mothers have to take them every morning, and they have to go for them again in the evening or during midday, it is difficult for them. So the community, the whole project has to be very relevant to the community so that they can support it. Again, the other thing is ownership. The community has to own the project. How will it own the project? By contributing some money or something, even if it is in kind, even if it's labor, you know, they go there. If it is digging, which is needed, they are part of it. That way they are owning it, you know. Is the chief, for example, participating in it? Does the chief understand why we need a project there? Is he driving people to give towards the project? You know, let them give in kind, let them give sand, let them give stones. That way they will own the project. They will not want a thief, for example, to see a thief come and steal something from that school and just leave him that way. No, because it is their own. Then legitimacy, yeah, it is legit. It is something of their own. We have done it on a proper land, a land which is given by the community. It is not something which at the end of the day will be illegal, because they have donated the land, they have signed, and you know, nobody in the community will come and say, oh, this is not, this land maybe, for example, was not it's theirs or something. The community knows that that land was meant for a school, was meant for a dispensary. Credibility. When we talk of credibility, is, are we doing something which is credible? For example, if we are doing a toilet, are we doing a toilet which has proper, which has a BQ, for example? That is, KCDF is very, very keen to make sure that we don't do shoddy work with the communities, because in case of anything happening, an accident happening there, well, who will be blamed? For example, it will be like, it is, the project was done by KCDF, or it was done by, for example, Isuzu East Africa together with KCDF. The community will blame us, you know. So we have to do something which is credible, which is up to standards. Yeah. Then the other thing is sustainability. How sustainable is the project? Once we are done with the project, for example, if there were farmers who are trying to do the potato plant, you know, how is it? Are they giving something, like, for example, every month, are they able to give, like, even if it's 5 shillings towards that project, to make sure that it is running well, that if there are any things which need to be repaired, they have been repaired. If there's somebody who takes care of it, or the security guy, is he being paid? You know, that has to be there for sustainability. Is it sustainable? Will the project continue after the donor leaves? So that is very, very key. And we always look forward, or we are looking at doing sustainable development, not just doing a one-off project. For example, just giving, during this time for COVID, just giving food to people one night, they eat and the food is over, you know? So instead we look at, is it possible to give these people some money to put them back to business, especially during this time for COVID. Yeah, so kindly go to the next.
Helen, I see that what was planned next was to show that 5-minute video. I'm just wondering, because you have the video planned and you also have the rest of your presentation, but we have less than 20 minutes left. I wondered if maybe you would want to take some questions at the moment. There's quite a hot debate happening in the chat. So I wonder if now might be the time to hear from the participants and to have some discussion. And then if we have a bit more time, maybe we can either go to the video or go to other parts of your presentation.
All right.
Is it okay?
Fine. I'll be
Yeah?
fast. Okay.
Or shall I take some questions now? Is that okay for you?
Please do.
Okay. So there's been quite a big debate around, I think, the different context in different countries around the resources that are available in some countries, but that are affected by corruption on the one hand. Also, the fact that a lot of people are saying, how can we expect individuals and community members to finance projects when the members of these communities are in quite destitute conditions? And some feel that these limiting factors mean that this local resource mobilization approach is impossible in certain contexts, whereas other people feel quite differently about it. So I wonder if you could speak a bit about your experience in that regard. Have you found that a context which is really quite limiting and quite constraining, that you can still flourish in that context? Can you talk to us a bit more about how you've experienced these things in your work?
Yes, it's not easy to fundraise locally. It's you need a lot of patience, and you need to train the community. In Kenya, for example, the Maasai community, in the video we will play, they thought they had nothing. But when we went, because they don't have the cash, yeah, but they have goats and they have chicken and they have cows. So when we asked every home to give us what they have, we collected so many goats and sheep, and we did an auction, and apparently we managed to raise 750 USD, yeah, because they had to raise half. It just what I can say, the community, it's just the mindset, because they are used to seeing big donors, international donors coming to them. But the minute they start giving the little they have towards a project, and the project is sold properly to the community by the CBO or CSO, they start understanding and they are able to give. It's not easy, but with time, they start warming to giving what they have. And when you appreciate the community, even if they just give in kind, and mention them as during the Rambi or the fundraiser, and really appreciate what they give, then, and the project that we are doing is theirs, you know, they start warming up and supporting. Even if every community has its own resources, and I'm sure they will look within and get something they can support the project with.
Thank you.
Yeah,
And can you talk a bit about whether or not there's a standard model for mobilization, or what the different steps are for resource mobilization?
Yeah, there's various ways of fundraising, of local resource mobilization. In Kenya, we have changed in KCDF, we have a model called Change the Game Academy. Maybe you can go to our website and you can actually be trained online on local resource mobilization. It's called CTGA, and just check it out. I think we'll share a link with you people to see how you can fundraise. But I can say that the most important thing is, for example, if you are going to a corporate, you just walk in, nobody has to know you, but you go and introduce yourself, walk in that organization, knock the door, and definitely they will open for you, go and sell your idea, make sure that the proposal is well written out. But I wouldn't say you take the proposal first. The first thing is go in person or make that phone call and make that booking for a meeting You can nowadays, because of COVID, you can even have a Zoom, you can have a conference call, yeah, with the different corporates. Then from there, keep on selling your idea. Maybe they'll tell you, you hold on. It's important to be patient with, for example, corporates, and remind them. Keep on look at different organizations. What is their agenda when it comes to CSR? Look, if you're doing a school, look at corporates who support schools. Don't just go to a corporate without doing a background check. Do a background check on their website and all, so that now you write to them and tell them your idea, tell them what you want to do. And because they are declined on education, continue reminding them, and some of them will come through, others might not come through, but with time, they will still come through. Yeah.
Thank you. And I think we have a question that someone wants to ask directly. No, sorry, I think the person has left. Because we have about 10 minutes left, Helen, I know that you had so much more information that you wanted to share. Is there anything in particular that you had prepared that you think is important to communicate to the participants today? And I suggest that for the video that you wanted to share with the group, I'll share the link in the chat. And we really encourage everyone to watch the video afterwards. We'll also post it on our socials. So that will definitely be put out there. But Helen, is there anything else that you wanted to talk about during the session today?
Yeah, I can add that it is possible to do local resource mobilization within our communities and in our countries, and every country has its resources. It's just that having a mind shift of how we can be on, drive our own agenda, yeah, do our things for ourselves. As much as we're getting funding out there, just don't rely alone on international funding. Look at doing things like investing, for example, invest a bit, look at doing investments which will, for example, give your organization funds. For example, if you're doing education, if you have a polytechnic, is it possible to, you are giving children who are, you are supporting children who are needy? Do you have some who are wealthy, who can pay school fees so that you can be able to sustain that school, So we have to change our mind. We have to change how we have been thinking over the years, and ask ourselves, just in case funding ended from international donors, where will we go? Will we all close our doors and go home? So we have to own our communities, and we have to improve our communities. Yeah.
Thank you, Helen. I see that Delphin is back. I see your hand is raised with a question. Guillaume, could you unmute Delphin, please?
Emma, and there is another question in the group, which is, what are the different phases in mobilization resource mobilization, local resource mobilization? Is there some process that you can share? That is another question in the group.
Yes, there is a process of local resource mobilization. For example, if you want, you have to look at what you are doing. For example, in Kenya, I have organized runs. Yeah, we organized a big run where we were trying to help children with heart defects from poor families. So slowly, we kept on doing it every year. Eventually, it became an international event. So there has to be consistency, So if you have to have several ways. For example, in KCDF, we have events. Yeah, we organize events. We bring money through that. We have one-on-ones with corporates, where you approach corporates and they become funders for your projects. you know, we have also wealthy individuals who will come through and support projects or become friends to Kenya Community Development Foundation. And we continuously keep on telling them what we are doing. For example, if we have fundraised, we have had a golf tournament, we are able to tell them, this is how much we raised, these are the projects we managed to do, and we send them the newsletters of what we were able to do. And also we make sure we bring in the community so that the community also gets to talk to them or see the children who they supported. We are in the link. You are supposed to be very, very transparent with their money. I don't know if I've answered your question right.
I think it was specifically about, well, if the question was asked a bit earlier, so I think you did speak to it a bit about the different steps in resource mobilization, and we also talked about some of the challenges and what need to be kept in mind in moving that action forward. But we have quite a few hands raised now, so let's see if we can get a couple more questions in before the end of the session. Delphin, do you want to ask your question? And I ask those who are bringing questions to Helen, please keep it concise. Vas-y, Delphin.
Alors, ma question, c'est par rapport au changement des mentalités. Dans une société, je vais reprendre encore la question que j'avais posée à la première conférence. Dans une société où quasiment la plupart des ONG ont échoué dans ce qu'ils ont fait, et lorsque nous, en tant que leaders des communautés qui veulent faire quelque chose dans le sens d'aider les communautés, on vient et puis dans les mêmes secteurs dans lesquels les anciennes ONG ont échoué. Et ils ont échoué avec des fonds colossaux. Alors, quelle serait la perception de la communauté lorsqu'on veut mobiliser les fonds? C'est un peu ça ma question.
Juste pour assurer que j'ai bien compris la question, tu parlais de changement de mentalité dans un contexte où les ONG ont échoué dans leurs initiatives. Quelle est la perception de la communauté, mais de qui?
En fait, la question c'est comment faire changer la mentalité d'une communauté qui a déjà des perceptions que la plupart des ONG échouent dans leur mission. Voilà.
Okay, merci. So Delphin is asking, in the context where we see that NGOs have come in to support communities, but where a lot of their initiatives have not been successful, how do you work with communities to shift that mentality in terms of creating a more positive perception of their relationship in working with NGOs or CSOs?
Yeah, the issue of NGOs doing projects and the projects just stall at some point, or they are not, they stop continuing. What KCDF does is we don't take the project to the community. The community brings, as in we do a call, and the communities send to us their proposals. The communities tell us what they want us to do with them. That is one. So it is a need, because, for example, you can go to the Maasai community in Kenya. You do for them a school. Yeah? As much as you think a school is good, to them a school is not important as much as their livestock. So to the Maasais, a borehole would be more important to start with than a school, than starting with a school, then a borehole. Because when you do a borehole, when you do a school, and there is no water for their animals, they will definitely leave the school and move searching for food or for feeds for their animals. So it is important to engage the community. Second, we tell the community also to give some percentage of the budget of that project so that they can own the project. Once they own the project, and we have done the project and we have left as KCDF together with the corporate maybe we were partnering with, they are able to continue taking care of that project. The other thing is we make sure that it is sustainable. If it is a borehole, which we have done, we will not just do it and they just come for water for free. You charge them even if it is 2 shillings, you know, to get water, which, for example, they would have paid 10 shillings, but now they're able to give just 2 shillings to make sure that they buy petrol for the generator, for example, to make sure that they are able to pay the person who takes care of the borehole, you know, to make sure that the whole place is clean, and to make sure that the whole place is taken care of. So it's not a matter of just doing the project and the community is just using it without paying something small to make it sustainable, you know? Or for example, do they have a revolving fund? If they start a project, are they able to get some little, put together some money so that they can borrow, you know, from each other and continue maybe doing their businesses and growing their businesses? So it is, they have to participate. They have to participate in sustaining the project. Yeah.
Thank you, Helen. And I think Sharon, also from the same organization, would like to add something. Guillaume, if you could unmute her.
Thank you so much. The other thing that KCDF does encourages is that any funder that is coming to support a community should develop tools that respond to civic space challenges. And that means that if you're helping a community, involve them from the point of them identifying their need, coming up with relevant tools that helps them identify their gaps and come up with strategies that will help respond to their needs. Often we see partners coming in with an already structured way of operation that keeps the community out. An example is KCDF has been offering a matching grant. And one of the conditions was that you have to match a shilling for a shilling. And with the time, we have realized that the organizations do not have the cash, but they would like to give you a chicken, they would like to give you iron sheet, they would like to give you a parcel of land to implement the project. So we are now reinventing our tools with the community to ensure that we are appreciating what the community feels would respond to their needs, as opposed to what we see as a solution to their problems. The other thing is working with the communities to identify their capacity gaps and coming up with the interventions that respond to those capacity gaps. So we tailor-make capacity building interventions in line with what the community feels will respond to what their need is. There's a question that was asked around the steps. So I would try, if you allow me just a minute to help with that process, I will sum it up in 4. 1, every person that is going out to fundraise needs to know why they are fundraising. That is the first step. Do you know what you need and why you need it before you start fundraising? And in that process, we analyze. So you will identify how you want to do your fundraising. You will look for the different finances or resources that you have within the organization and what you need to make sure that you are able to realize your goal. You will look at who are the possible donors, and then you will narrow down to people who are likely to give you in that process. The next step after analyzing, then you will come up with a plan. And in this plan, you have narrowed down to the specific donor. So now you choose the ones that you want to approach. You will also choose the different techniques that you want to work with. For example, a fundraising dinner might work for me, but a fundraising dinner might not work for a different community. So you choose a technique that works for your community. Approaching a corporate might work for a specific community, might not work for the other. So in that process of planning, you are able to narrow down to the technique that works for you. You also need a team. Fundraising is a strenuous process and very time consuming. So you need people with different skill sets to help you go through that process. So you need to come up with a team and come up with a plan for how you're going to fundraise. The third step that you need to take into consideration is creating an interest. You dare to ask. I think that is one point that most of us normally fail. You know what you want, you know how you want it, but you fail to ask. So if you need something, you have to ask for it to be given to you. So you create an interest. So in this process, you have to negotiate, you have to interview, you have to create different marketing materials to help the different partners to know that you need support somewhere and how they can support you. And lastly, you need to say thank you. Very important. In our trainings, we have realized that we go through the entire process and we receive support, but we never go back to say thank you. We only say thank you at the end of the project or at the beginning when we receive the support. So we are learning slowly to appreciate the different people that support us continuously. And what happens is we have people doing brief reports, giving regular updates, making sure that you're maintaining the contact with your donor so that it's not about a report, it's not about the project is ending, but you're developing a culture of appreciating that the person is supporting you. And most important, take time to reflect on the process that you've gone through in your fundraising. Do you learn from what you have been able to do? Do you learn what you did well? Do you learn from what you did not well and start to improve? Do you want to go on with the same process, or you need to reinvent how do you do your fundraising? So in a nutshell, those are the 4 basic steps that you follow through. Of course, there are many steps that are involved in those 4 major steps. So thank you very much for your time. I hand over to you.
Thank you very much, Sharon. I think that was really useful and something that several people were asking for. So thank you for providing the additional details. Guillaume, we didn't have a chance to look at the results from the survey, so Guillaume is posting them for you to take a look at. I think we've spoken to some of the points that are connected with these questions. So while we won't be able to go into them, at least you can see what your fellow participants have responded. Because we are going to have to wrap up, unfortunately, we won't be able to take the other questions that have been asked or the hands that have been raised, but we will be making additional resources information available on our Facebook group and LinkedIn page. So do have a look if you are interested in pursuing the topic or the conversation. I have to say, I've participated in quite a lot of sessions this week, and this is one of the most dynamic chats that I've seen. So clearly, Helen and Sharon, this is a very, I think, hot topic and one that is close to a lot of people's hearts. So thank you again very much for sharing your experience, sharing your expertise. And I really invite all of the participants to reach out to both Helen and Sharon afterwards if you have questions that haven't been answered. Like I said, we will be sharing resources. So thank you again. And that wraps up the day for the 3rd day of our conference. We do have 2 days remaining, and don't forget, tomorrow is focusing on managing projects in a volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous environment. And we really hope to see many of you in those sessions tomorrow and the sessions on Friday. So thank you very much, everyone, and hope to see you again soon.
Thank
Merci.
you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Hélène, merci Sharon, et merci Corinne qui a traduit tout
Yes.
ça.
Thank you, Corinne, for your interpretation. All right. Bye, everyone.
Okay, bye, everyone.
Okay, thank you so much.
See you tomorrow, I hope.
You will.
Ok. Est-ce que je coupe pour tout le monde?
Ouais, et on se retrouve ce meet.
Ok. Au revoir tout le monde. À demain. Ah, je vais d'abord enregistrer un truc. Ok, c'est bon. Allez, je coupe.